10, 11 lines from the bottom of 4a, trying to figure out who the Mishnah is like. If it was like Rabbi Shmuel, we had a problem. If it's like Rabbi Akiva, we had a problem. So we ended up saying it's Rebbe. It's the opinion of Rebbe. And Rebbe, who compiled the Mishnayos, he placed one part of the Mishnah according to Rabbi Akiva, and another part of the Mishnah according to Rabbi Shmuel. So now, Amar of Ashi. Morning, Jules. So Amar of Ashi, Amrisa l'shmaitik made the Rav Kahana. Rav Ashi went and told over this teaching to Rav Kahana that our Mishnah really has two opinions. It's part of it's like Rabbi Akiva, and part of it's like Rabbi Shmuel. So Amar li, and he said to me, Lo tema Rebbe naslali b'detanai v'lei lo svirlei. It doesn't make sense that Rebbe would take a Mishnah and make it according to two opinions, and he himself didn't hold of that. Rather, Ella Rebbe time adinavshe mefarish. Rebbe happens to be that Rebbe has his own opinion. His own opinion happens to reflect partially Rabbi Shmuel and partially Rabbi Akiva. Until now, the Gemara understood it's only two options. Either the Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva or the Mishnah is Rabbi Shmuel. We suggested maybe it's both. And he said that's very difficult. Rather, Rebbe has his own reasoning, and that reasoning happens to be partially Rabbi Shmuel and partially Rabbi Akiva. And now we're going to go through Rebbe's reasoning and trying to figure out where does he come to this conclusion. So, the Tanya says the Brisa. Jules are like 4 lines from the bottom. So, 4a, the last mnemonic next to it, towards the last of the footnotes in the new metric system.
We started 6:10.
6:10.
Yeah, I know I'm late. I'm just curious.
Okay,
You're right on top.
I came early, yeah. I'm trying to do tshuva. Yeah, from the Basra and Sanhedrin. So that's right. The Tanya, if you get a good night's sleep, it helps. So the Tanya, and if you prepare ahead of time, it also helps. So the Tanya, minayin she'eino chayiv. How do I know that I'm liable for a korban, ola v'yoreh, this kind of korban? Ella, I'm only liable when what? Sheyesh ba yediyah b'tchila. If I originally knew that I cannot impurify myself, then, and at the end of the day, after I did the Aveira, I also know that I could not have impurified myself. But in the middle, I had a lapse, right? A classic case of a show, you had a lapse. There was a lapse being time in the middle. How do I know that that's true? Says the Gemara, in the verse itself, it says, Venelam. It was hidden from me, and it was hidden from me. From him. Not from me, from him. So he touched something, and then it was hidden from him. So it says it twice. So, Divrei Rabbi Akiva, it says it twice. Why? So why twice? To teach you that this idea. Oh, so according to Rabbi Akiva, let's go back to it 1 second. Benelam shneip amim divrei Rabbi Akiva. So according to Rabbi Akiva, it says Nelam 2 times in that parsha. Why? To teach you that you're only liable if you became impure, and you're liable if you knew you were impure, had a lapse, ate something which is kodesh, ate something which is holy, and then remembered. So that's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva needs these 2 words, that there's a lapse, to teach you that you knew in the beginning, you knew at the end, and there's a lapse in the middle. However, that's only Rabbi Akiva. Rebbe eino tzarech. Rebbe doesn't need 2 words of venelam to teach you this idea. Harehu omer venelam michlal diyada. 1 second. Yeah, turning the page. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So the first, according to Rabbi Akiva, the first Venelam teaches you that only for touching Tumah, for touching something which is impure, you had a lapse. You didn't realize that you were impure. So for that, you're going to be liable, and not liable for, walking into the base of Mikdash when you're impure. That's one. The second v'nelam for Rabbi Akiva teaches you that after you knew that you were impure, you had a lapse. To come to teach you that you had to have knowledge in the beginning and then a lapse. So according to Rabbi Akiva, one v'nelam tells you just the idea that there's some kind of shogeg, some kind of inadvertent case that you're going to be liable for. That case is when you are impure and you touch and you eat something which is holy, which you're not supposed to eat. That's one. The second v'nelam teaches you that it was hidden from you, meaning you knew originally that it was wrong, and then it was hidden from you. So you need a second word of v'nelam to teach you that you have to have known originally that you were impure, and then you had a lapse. According to Rebbe says, I don't need it for that. Harehu Omer, the first word of v'nelam means you had a lapse. Having a lapse means you had a knowledge. You had a lapse from something. So that's Rebbe. V'nelam michlal, implying the yada. So you had a knowledge ready, v'hu yada. So harei kan shtei yediyas. So you already knew that you knew, and then you had a lapse. So im kain matamad lomar v'nelam. Why does it say v'nelam twice? To teach you two separate cases where you had a lapse. What are those cases? L'chayiv al helem tuma. One is where you forgot that you're tameh and you went to go eat something which was pure, which you weren't allowed to do. And the second one was al helem mikdash, where you were impure and you walked into the base of mikdash. So that second word v'nelam that Rabbi Akiva uses to teach you that you had a knowledge in the beginning, Rebbe uses to teach you a separate category that you're liable a korban for. Now, if that's true, which seems like it is, so then Rebbe could agree to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says 4 cases that you are going to be liable to bring an offering. 2 of them are involving you eating something which is impure, which is holy, and 2 of them are involving going to the base of Mikdash. So we're saying that our Mishnah is Rebbe. We figured out how he can have 4 permutations. You have 2 categories, one involving holy items. Either, I'm impure and I eat it, or it's impure and I eat it, or I'm impure and I walk into the base of Mikdash, or I forgot that the base of Mikdash is holy and I wasn't able to walk in. But Rebbe has both categories, eating the food and walking into the base of Mikdash, as derived from the second word, v'nelam. So that's going to be, that fits with our Mishnah. Okay, but Ashechan b'yedias the islay time and afshay. It's okay, good. So you found a case of Tumah that Rebbe himself had his own reasoning, and he agrees to it. Remember, we had a problem. The Mishnah was not Rabbi Akiva and was not Rabbi Shmuel, and we were stuck. Now we're saying, it's a third opinion. It's Rebbe who happens to mix and match both of them. Whatever the problem with Rabbi Akiva was, he doesn't have, and whatever the problem with Rabbi Shmuel was, he doesn't have. So this was the problem with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva only had 2 categories. He only had 1 category, eating the holy food. Rabbi has a second category, so that's fine. What about Shavuos? Shavuos, Rabbi Shmuel only had future oaths. Our Mishnah has even oaths in the past. I ate, I didn't eat. So Shavuos, the Islay time of Nolan. Where do you find that Rebbe has his own reasoning when it comes to all 4 of these oaths that our Mishnah says you're liable for? So we say it's a svara, it's his own svara, it's his own logic. What's the logic? Well, how does Rabbi Akiva learn our Mishnah? Meaning Rabbi Akiva also has all 4 oaths. Rabbi Shmuel has only 2 of them, only future ones, not past. So how does Rabbi Akiva know? My time avar. How does Rabbi Akiva obligate somebody for violating an oath that was in the past? Didarish ribui umiyute. He expounds the Torah. We'll explain in a second. In a ribui miyut format. Rebbe Nami. He piggybacks on Rabbi Akiva. He also expounds on a ribui umiyut format. Now, the classic case is you have the Torah telling you something general, then it tells you something specific, then something general again. So you have many psukim like that. So how do you understand that? So one way to understand it is when it told you something general, we didn't really know what it was talking about. Comes the second word category, it specifies for you exactly what you were talking about. And then it comes the second generality, klal, uprat, a general rule. Prat tells you exactly, no, this is what it means, it explains to you. And then the last word tells you coming to include something which is similar to the prat, right? That's what we say, right before the Kaddish in the morning, if Daf Yomi finishes in time, which is rare. So it says, right, according to Rabbi Shmuel, you say, klal upratu klal. You have a klal upratu klal. Yatadan ela ke'ein haprat. That's the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Akiva argues, though. He says when you have a case of a general word, and then a specific word, and then a general word, the first word includes everything. It's all inclusive. Then the second word comes to limit it a little bit. And the third word comes to expound more. So Rabbi Akiva learns the Parsha of Shavuot, which is in this format, because it says, Nefesh kisi shava, one soul, one person who swears. Swears what? Every kind of oath. Then it says, laharo lehetiv. Then it's referring to things that are only in the future. And then it says the word at the end, again, one who swears. And that's referring to all oaths, future and past. So since he learns the Parsha of Shavuot that way, ribui, umiyut ribui, Rebbe also learns it that way, and that would include two oaths in the past. Because the first word tells you, the first part tells you all oaths. Second part tells you, well, we're limiting it a little bit, only future oaths. And the third section will tell you it includes even the past oaths. Okay, so now the question is, we need to find somewhere in the Talmud that Rebbe expounds the Torah in this kind of format. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shmuel, we know from many places. That we're not bothered with. But we're now saying that the way that Rebbe knows the past oaths is through the ribui miut ribui format. So where do we find Rebbe saying that? And now we're going to go through like 2 or 3 cases, going through these kinds of formats. So Rebbe Omer, we're jumping now to redeeming the firstborn child, right? And we're going to take b'chol podin, redeem him with anything, money, cars, tables, documents, slaves, up to you. Rabbi Omer b'chol podin, b'chor adam. You can redeem with anything except for chut min hashtaros, except for a document. So that we give 5 salayim, a currency of 5 salayim. So nowadays every Kohen has their special coins that they use, whatever it is. But let's say you had a document saying, I owe you the value of 5 salayim, and you give it to the Kohen. That would not work. Okay, we'll see why. The Rabbanan say, Amri b'chol podin, you can redeem with anything, a b'chor adam, a firstborn, except for servants, shtaros, v'karkos. 3 things. Servants, you can't hand that in and get the kid back. The shtaros, the document, or karka. You can't give land. It has to be a movable object. It can't be real estate. So what is this dispute between Rebbe and the Rabbanan? My timer, the Rebbe daresh ribui umiyute. Rebbe expounds in a ribui mute format. Where do you see that? It says upiduye mi ben chodesh. You have to redeem the firstborn. Redeem with what? Anything. It's a general word. Anything. Erkacha kesef chamisha shkolim. Then it tells you, hold on, only 5 shkolim. Sounds like only money, only 5 shkolim. So that comes to limit everything to money. Then it says tifta, you should redeem him with what? With anything. So chazar v'riba. So it goes back and it now includes. So riba, first it includes, miyet, then it limits, v'riba, then it includes again. What's that teaching you? So riba hakol, first it includes everything. So ma'i riba, what does it include? Kol mili, everything. You can get back the kid with anything. Umayi miyet, and what does it limit? What's the limitation? Miyet shtaros. It's coming to exclude shtaros, that you cannot use documents. Now, that is all Rebbe, because he learns it in that format. The Rabbanan who argue on Rebbe, they expound it in a different way. They expound like Rabbi Shmuel, the Rabbanan Darshi, Klali Uprate. So they learn that when you have a general word, it doesn't include everything. It's just vague with no explanation. You can redeem your kid. Well, I don't know what that means. So the second word that limits, doesn't limit it, it explains it. Uprat is an explanation of that which you just referred to. So, Klali Uprate. So what does that mean? Upiduye mi ben chodesh klal. Then it comes to include again. So what does that mean? So be'erka kachazav chamisha shkolim. It first tells you redeem the kid with 5 shkolim. Prat. Sorry. Upiduye mi ben chodesh klal. That redeeming, that's a klal. That's a general rule. Now, what's that referring to? Redeem it with what? Be'erka kachazav chamisha shkolim. It's going to tell you redeem him with money. Prat. Tifta, the word tifta comes out, redeem him again with anything. Chazer klal. Klalu, pratu klal. The rule is we have a general, and then it explains the specific. In general, iatadon elakaina prat. Then you can only you can only go according to the prat. That middle thing, that middle word, which is an explanation of the general word, it has to always be similar to that. So in this case, you have 2 general words, redeem. We don't know what redeem means. In the middle, it told you with money. So now the fact that it went back and told you again to redeem means you could redeem with anything which is similar to money. Now, what is similar and what is not similar to money? Maha prat mefurish. Just like the Torah explicitly mentioned that the prat, the detail, what is that? It's davar hametaltel. It's a movable item. Your dollar bill, your coin is movable. The gufo mammon, and it itself is money. It's not a reference to money. It's not a check. It itself is money. Therefore, af kol davar metaltel, the gufo mammon, anything which is movable and it itself is valuable can be used. What does that exclude? Yatsu karkos, real estate. That's not movable. She'ena metaltlin. Yatsu avadim. So servants are always compared to land. So the Torah juxtaposes them. They have very similar halachas in terms of making an oath, in terms of this. So Yatsu Avadim, they piggyback off of land, fine. And also Yatsu Shtaros, a document. A document itself is not money. It's an obligation to give, but Yatsu Shtaros, Afal Pisha Metaltlin, they're movable, you can move your document, but it itself is not money, right? The check itself is valueless.
No intrinsic value.
No intrinsic value, right? Okay, the Gemara said you could use it as a bottle stopper. You know, it might be worth a coin, a penny, because you can use it as a bottle stopper. But it can even be a document which is worth less than a penny. It doesn't matter. It'll still be a valuable document, but it itself does not have intrinsic money. Okay, so we found somewhere in the Torah that Rebbe, by Pidyon Ben, expounds in a ribui miut format. Therefore, when it comes to oaths, we can safely assume that he goes like Rabbi Akiva, who expounds the section of the Torah regarding oaths in the same format, and therefore that would include the 2 oaths that are in the past. So, Amar Rabbi Meimar, listen, nothing is so simple, right? Rabbi Darish, Ribu Yomiute. Do you think Rabbi expounds in that kind of format? Rabbi Kalir Prati Darish. I'll bring you Rabbi who expounds in the exact opposite way, and then you're going to get stuck. So something has to go. So where do you see he expounds in the opposite way? The Tanya, okay, see, these are words that we don't use every day. So we're talking about the hammering in the servant's ear. Yeah. So Martseya, I look up some fancy word. Exactly. And all, a little thing that can poke a hole through something. Yeah. And all. So Aili Ella Martseya. There's all I know is I can use a all. But yeah. So Minayin Larabos. Hasul v'hasera v'hamachat v'hamekadeach v'hamichtav. How do I know I can include so let's go on hasul, some kind of piece of wood. It's very sharp. Hasera is some kind of thorn. Hamichtav is a needle. No, a machat's a needle. A machat's a needle. Hamekadeach is some kind of, what's a mekadeach?
Gimlet or stylus?
Okay, and hamichtav is?
Stylus.
Like a barber? A stylist? No, a stylist. Okay.
Gimlet is like a bone constrictor.
Uh-huh.
That's a different.
That's a giblet.
Okay, so we have Martzeh in all, and how do I know I can include 5 more little things that can poke holes through ears? Yeah, special hole. So Talmud Lomar Vilakachta. It says Vilakachta. You can take anything. So Kol Davar Shenilkach Biyad. Anything which is taken with the hand that can poke a hole is fine. Divrei Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Omer, though, Rabbi says no. Martzeh. It has to be similar to a martzeh. It can't be anything that can poke a hole in all or the other categories. Ma martzeh miyuchat shel mateches. Martzeh specifically metal. Av kol shel mateches. So it has to be a hole poker, an ear poker, which is going to be metal. So 2 opinions here. Can you expound to many hole poking utensils or only to metal ones? So what is this dispute? So Rabbi Darish Klali Uprati and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Darish Ribu Mute. Rabbi says that it says in the Torah Vilakachta, take what? So if you learn it like a Klalu Prat, what it means is, I don't know what take means. Prat teaches you, I'll tell you what it means. It means a martzeh. Then it says a klal again to teach you whatever is similar to a martzeh. But the middle word in the klalu prat klal is always an explanation. In ribui miyute ribui, it's always going to be a limitation. That's the big difference. Does the first word actually include everything, or it's just vague? We don't know what it means. Therefore, the second word is either coming to limit from everything to only certain things, or it's coming to explain that which you don't know. And then the third word, which is also a general word, is either going to come to teach you, it has to be similar to your explanation, or it's going to expound, not limit everything, to expound a little bit more. So it sounds like when it comes to poking the hole of the Eved, Rebbe learns a klal uprat klal format. So now we're stuck. By pidyon aban, you told me ribui mute. By poking the hole, it's klal uprat. So how do you know that by Shavuot, our Mishnah, he says ribui mute? Maybe it's klal uprat. If it's klal uprat, then he can't be the author of our Mishnah. So says the Gemara, you're right. And the Alma in general, Rebbe understands that it's klali uprate darish. When you have a normal case of a general word, specific word, general word, he's gonna expound it like he does by martzea, right here, by the hole poker. That's the rule. However, the hacha, when it comes to pidyon haben, the reason why he expounded ribui miyute ribui is because it was a little bit different. What if you have 2 general rules followed by a specific, right? So we just set it up general, specific, general, right? What if it's general, general, specific? Then what do you do? So that, to the Tan de Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says the Tan de Rabbi Shmuel, b'mayim, it talks about by the things that are in the water, the non-kosher animals in the water. So it says you can eat the ones, everything which is in the water, as long as it has pins of scale in the water. So it says b'mayim 2 times, but he says ein ze klalu prat ella riba umiyet. Rather, when you have it says anything you could have in the water. Then it says water again, but then it says seas and rivers. So the specification of rivers and seas and rivers comes after the 2 general words. So Rabbi Shmuel says when you have general, specific, then you expound it in a ribui miyut format. So too by pidyon haben, it's the same kind of format. It says upeduyav, you should redeem with anything. Then that's 1 general word. Then it says tifteh, you should redeem again. It's very general. Then it says chamesh shkolim, use money. So that's general, specific. So there, Rebbe says we're going to expound in a ribui miyut format, like the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. But that would make us a little bit stuck because we don't know then how Rebbe would expound our Mishnah, unless our Mishnah is the same kind of format. 1 second. Our Mishnah says, Okay, let's see if the Gemara talks about our mission, and then if not, we'll come back. So, the Rabbanan who argue on Rebbe, how do they understand it? They say, "Ki the Amri b'Ma'arava," like they taught in Eretz Yisrael, in the West. Anytime you have two general rules and there's something specific near them, let's say following them, hitel prat beinehem, take the specific, put it in the middle of the two general rules, the donam, and then judge them, the klalu prat. So, okay, so we have two big arguments today. One is whenever you have the Torah tells you general, specific, general, how do you expound that? And another thing is when you have general, specific, how do you expound that? So, hashto de amras. Okay, they're getting back to it. Good. Hashto de amras Rebbe. Now that you told me that Rebbe, really the general rule is he learns, like we say in the morning, klalu prat. So then the darshi. So bal korcha kasha shvuos. So now, what's our Mishnah? The only way we found that Rebbe learns out the other two oaths that you violated, the ones in the past, is because he went like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva learns ribu yomiyot. Rebbe learns klalu prat. They expound the general specific differently. So what do you have to say? Ela b'shvuos nasiv la aliba de Rabbi Akiva v'lei lo sfirlei. So what you have to say is Rebbe, his own opinion when it came to tumah, to impurity, that he has his own exposition that we had in the beginning of today. By Shavuos, he himself would not say that there are 4 oaths that you can violate. But he held that in halacha, Rabbi Akiva was right. Rabbi Akiva was right, and therefore there really are 4 oaths, 2 in the future and 2 in the past. So he held that our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Akiva, even though he himself would never expound it like that, but he holds our Mishnah must be like Rabbi Akiva. So at the end of the day, Rebbe is the author. It's his opinion is the first part of the Mishnah about impurity, and the part about Shavuos, about oaths, is really the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Okay. Now, going back to what we started with today, Rebbe and Rabbi Akiva had this argument about tumah. The word v'ne'elam, it's mentioned twice. Rabbi Akiva understands one is referring to a category, and one is referring to the fact that you have to have a knowledge in the beginning and a lapse. So, gufa. Let's go back to what we just said. Minayin, a few minutes ago, yeah. Minayin she'ein chayiv ela al sheish b'yediyah b'tchila v'yediyah b'sof. V'helam b'ntayim. How do I know that to bring this korban ola b'yored, I have to know I did something, knew that it was wrong in the beginning. I had a lapse in the middle, and then I knew it was wrong at the end. And then I bring a sacrifice. How do I know that? Talmud lomar v'nelam shnei pa'amim. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says the word v'nelam, it was hidden from him, is mentioned twice. One is to teach you which category we're talking about, when it's regarding to you being impure, eating something which is pure, which you're not allowed to do. And the second v'nelam tells you that you must have known in the beginning. You have to know in the beginning that it's wrong. Then when you have a lapse, it's considered a shogeg, an inadvertent act. Then you're liable. Rebbe said, you don't need that. The fact that it says it's hidden from you already teaches you that there was knowledge in the beginning. Rebbe Omer Eino Tzarech, Harehu Omer Benela. It says it was hidden from you. Hidden for you means Mechlal Shiyadam. Hidden from you means you knew, and then then there was a lapse. So Harei Kan Shtei Yediyos. Therefore, Rebbe says the extra word Venelam teaches you a separate category of Tumah. Even when I walk into the base of Mikdash impure, I'll be liable an oath for that too. So Im Kain Ma Tam Lo Venelam Lechayev Al Helam Tumah Al Helam Mikdash is to teach you that categorically there are 2 types of Tumah that I'll be liable this kind of korban for, this sacrifice for. One is eating something when I'm in a state of impurity. I knew I was impure. I had a lapse. I ate. I wasn't supposed to. I just totally blanked. And then I knew at the end, I bring an oath. I bring a sacrifice. Or I knew I was impure. I totally blinked, walked into the temple, left. Then I remembered, oh my gosh, I was impure. And I bring a sacrifice for that too. So now, that which Rebbe said, Amar Mar v'ne'elam mechlal sheyada, it says you had a lapse. Now, how does lapse imply that you must have known in the beginning? Meaning maybe a lapse just means that a guy just didn't know the halacha, right? You can have two kinds of not knowing, right? He never knew the halacha. He never was taught the halacha, right?
That wouldn't be a lapse.
Yeah, what would you call it? You'd be a lack of knowledge. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ignorance. Ignorance. So that's one way. Or the I don't know could be because I forgot. So this word vanilla, which we're translating as really hidden from him. So the Gemara, though, wonders, how do you know that necessarily means maybe it was hidden from him because he never went to Jewish day school? Or maybe it was hidden from him because he totally forgot. How are you convinced that it means he must have known and then forgot? So Amarava midaloksiv vehi aluma mimenu. From the fact that it didn't focus on the matter was hidden from him. That would sound like he knows. It was forgotten from him. It just says if it would have said vehi aluma mimenu, the matter was hidden from him. It means he never learned it. He never learned it. He just never knew what it was. The fact that it says v'ne'elam, the word v'ne'elam, sounds like he himself, really, he knew it, but then he himself forgot it. So now, on this, that the word v'ne'elam can imply that you one time knew and now you forgot, Abaye is not going to be happy with that. Amalei Abaye, elamiyata, jumping to sota now, gabe sota. So a lady who's was warned by her husband not to seclude herself with another man, and then goes and secludes herself with another man, has to go through the whole parsha of sota. What does it say over there, though? It says there, I'll read the whole verse, or at least the first part. The shachav ish osa. So a man lay with this lady who was warned, and then it says v'ne'elam me'ene isha. Isha here doesn't mean woman; it means her husband, and it was hidden. It was hidden from him, from her husband. That So now, what does it mean? It was hidden from her husband. The word hidden sounds like he knew, and then it was hidden from him. Michlal dehavi yada. So if he knew about it, dehavi yada mikar. If he knew about the fact that she was having relations with somebody else, so then ihavi yada mi bat kulamaya. If it was known already that if he knew already that she had relations with him, it was known who this guy was, and that he was the one that had relations with her inappropriately, then the waters wouldn't have checked her. How do I know? The Hatanya, it says that the man had to be totally clean of any avera. Tisa es avona. What does that mean? Bisman sha'ish menuka me'avon hamayim bodkin es isha es ishto. As long as the man here, first the husband, right? As long as the husband was free of any avera, so then the water will check the woman. Ein ha'ish menuka me'avon, ein hamayin bodkin es ishto. If the man was not free from avera, meaning what? He himself.
Does it mean he had an affair too? No.
What does it mean? What does it mean? That he knew about the guy?
He just had a suspicion or something, or is
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah. The husband being
he himself had relations with her after the other man had relations with her. If a man is married, Reuben's married to Rachel. Yeah, Reuben's married to Rachel, and Rachel cheats on him with somebody else. So her husband cannot be with her anymore. That's not that. That's right. Not the man who had a relation with her, not the husband. So if the man knew about it originally, and then he went and still had relations with her, so then and now he's like, oh, by the way, she had relations with somebody else. Let's go check her. It's not going to work. So if the man knew about it and continued to live with her, the water's not going to check him. So if vanilla means it must be hidden from him, means he knew already and he kept living with her, then the water is not going to check the woman. It only checks when he's free of sin. For him, free of sin is where he
hasn't not had relations with her for a while.
But if he's what is that?
It's no relations since the suspicion.
Since the suspicion's right, but if he did, then the water wouldn't check it. So So v'nelam there doesn't mean that he forgot. It means that v'nelam means I don't know. He didn't know. It was totally hidden from him. He had no idea that she had relations with somebody else, or that she was secluded with somebody else. He, kept living with her, and then all of a sudden he finds out that she actually secluded herself with another man. So there, the word v'nelam doesn't mean he knew, but he forgot. It means he totally had no idea. So that's one. Furthermore, Vesu, when it referring to the Torah in the book of Eov, the book of Job, it says, the word v'nelma, the Torah itself is hidden. It's hidden from the creatures and from the birds of the heaven. So there are people that actually know all the depths of the Torah and all its grandeur. How could that be? Lo yada enosh erka. No person knows its true value. Torah is valueless, not in a bad way, and it's totally beyond. You can't put a price on it. Mm-hmm. So once again, the word v'nelam over there doesn't mean I knew but I forgot. It means it's nobody knows. No one knows its value. So too in our case, how could Rebbe say that v'nelam means he one time knew about it and then he forgot? I showed you in two places that the word v'nelam doesn't mean I don't know because I forgot. It means I don't know because I don't know. I just don't know. So El Amar Abaye, Rebbe has an interesting opinion. Kasavar Rebbe, when the Torah says that you have to know that you were impure, and then you don't know anymore that you are impure. So what does that mean? So right now we have two options on the table. Either it means you just had no idea, you just didn't know anything. That's what it means. Or it means I knew that I was impure, and then I forgot. Well, on that we have trouble because we brought you two places where v'nelam that can't imply that. So it says the Gemara, Kasavar Rebbe, Yedias Beis Rabo Shmei Yediyah. What about this case where you learned in school that someone who touches something impure is going to be impure, and he knows that he touched something, but he didn't see what it was exactly. Is that considered knowledge of impurity? You know that you touched something that made you impure, but you're not sure more than that. You don't know what it was. Sorry, it's even less than that. You know you touched something, but you didn't think about that thing makes you impure. Meaning, so you learned in school, if you touch something, some kind of animals, it makes you impure. Now you know you touched something, but you didn't think enough, you didn't think long enough to realize that something made you impure. So what's that called, right? So you knew you're walking around and all of a sudden, some insect jumps on you. Okay, so you for sure know I touched something, but you didn't think long enough to realize, oh my gosh, third grade, my Rebbe taught me that a creepy color that touches you makes you impure. So that's what Rebbe says. That's still enough of what's called a yediyah. That's enough of a knowing that if you blank on that knowledge, then you eat the thing which you're not supposed to, or you walk into the temple when you're not supposed to, that's still called a shogeg. Remember, because a shogeg is something that's inadvertent, meaning somehow you should have known. Rebbe holds that even this is called enough to know that if you touch something and you don't think long enough that which you touched makes you impure, and then that's also called enough of a yediyah, a knowledge, to which if you have a lapse, v'nelam, you're going to be liable. Okay. So that solves our problem, because now the word v'nelam doesn't mean I knew for sure and then I forgot. It means I knew on some level, but but I didn't know fully. So Amar le Rav Papa Abaye, says Rav Papa Abaye, hold on, if that's true, Ela de Katani ein bayediyah betchila, v'yesh bayediyah besof. So mi ika de les layediyah beis rabo. What's the case? We have a case in the Mishnah where you had no knowledge in the beginning, but at the end you found out that you actually ate something when you were in a state of impurity. But the Mishnah says there's a case of where in the beginning you had no idea. So it says Abaye, how could it be that nobody knows? No one has the basic knowledge that you learned growing up that something makes you impure. You have zero knowledge. So he tells him back, yeah, Amla in You have a child that was captured that grew up with a bunch of non-Jews. He has no idea things make you impure.
Right.
He grows up, someone gets him out of there, goes to yeshiva, finds out, oh my gosh, this past year I actually ate something which I wasn't supposed to because I was in a state of impurity. Or you could probably apply this to nowadays. People who didn't get any education growing up. Right? How many people they knew? Zero, absolutely nothing. Maybe a Pesach Seder they knew of, or Hanukkah. Yeah, okay, it's fine. So that concludes that. Now, Yitzias Shabbos, Shtayim Shein Arba. We had the another 2 that's 4 is Shabbos. If you remove something from a public domain to a private domain, if you're taking something out of a private domain to public domain, either you're placing it or you're taking it out. Or the other 2 cases were, if you're bringing in from a private domain to a public domain, you're pulling it in, or you're placing it in from a public to private domain. Those are 2 that are 4 that you're liable on Shabbos for. So now, Tanan Hassam, when it came to Mesechus Shabbos, so it says over there by Mesechus Shabbos, opening day Mesechus Shabbos. So Yitzias Shabbos, Shtayim Shein Arba Bifnim, 2 that are 4 inside, the Shtayim Shein Arba Chutz, and 2 that are 4 outside. So how come Ma'ishna Hacha over here when it came to Shavuos, it said the Tana Shtayim Shein Arba, and that's all. It just stopped. 2 that are 4. Ma'ishna Hasam the Tani Shtayim Shein Arba Bifnim, the Shtayim Shein Arba B'chutz, and there it was like a little more expansive. It says 2 that there are 4 cases inside, and 2 that are 4 cases outside. It expanded. So it told you more details. How come here only it shortened it? So it says the Gemara, what might be a little bit self-intuitive or intuitive. Hasam the Iker Shabbosu. So there it's Mesechus Shabbos. It's talking about Shabbos. So there its primary purpose is to teach you about Shabbos. Yeah. So the Hasam the Iker Shabbosu, Tani Avos, Vitoldos. It taught you the primary categories of taking out and the toldos of bringing in. We're about to ask a question on this. Hacha delaviker Shabbosu. Here it just mentioned parenthetically 2 that are 4. Okay, 2 that are 4. So avos tani, toldos lo tani. It only mentioned the primary categories and didn't mention the derivative categories. Now, this is Gemara saying, what are you talking about? So avos tani v'toldos lo tani. So okay, let's see. Let's bring it. What are the primary categories of bringing from one domain to the other? Avos ma'inenu. What are these primary categories? Yitzios. Yitzios means taking something from a private domain and bringing out into a public domain. How many cases are there? 2. Putting from indoor to outdoor, pulling from indoor to outdoor. That's only 2. You just told me that our Mishnah says 2 that are 4 is referring to the primary categories. There aren't 4 ways you can bring something outside that'll make you liable on Shabbos. There are only 2. Yitzios tarti havyan. Okay, well maybe 2 that's 4 just means 2 that you are obligated for and 2 that you are exempt for. Like we tried this before by other cases. 2 that you are obligated, 2 that you are exempt for. Well, we can't. Why? Because one of the 2 that are 4s is negayim, is leprosy, and there you're obligated for all 4. Just like the 4 cases, 2 that are 4 by leprosy, those are all 4 that you have leprosy. They're all 4 examples where yes, this makes you obligated now in the halachas of a mitzorah. So to here, they have to be all 4 that are going to be to obligate you. So Elam Rav Papa Hasam Deker Shabbos Tani Chiyuve Upture Hacha Chiyuve Tani Upture Lo Tani. So there that it tells you about Shabbos, it says 2 that are 4 inside, 2 that are 4 outside. Each inside and outside is going to have 2 ways that you're going to be liable, and 2 ways that you're going to be exempt. If you do the full act of taking from inside, placing it outside, you're obligated. But let's say you do only half of it. You put your hand out the window, so you removed it from a public domain, out the window. Now someone else takes it and puts it outside. So you put your hand out the window and I go and I take it. So that's not liable on Shabbos. That you're exempt for. You have to do an akira, a removal, and a placement. You can't do half. So therefore, there it told you 4 for inside, 4 for outside, obligated, and the ones you're exempt. Here it only taught you the ones that you're obligated in, 2 inside and 2 outside. It didn't teach you the ones that you are exempt in.